Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of Rift Happens, a Coach Rivals podcast. I'm Justin, joined by my co host, Lucas, over to my left. Lucas, welcome back to Rift Happens.
Thank you. It's been it'll be the nice cap on a very relaxing day now that I'm on spring break. Um, yeah.
That reminds me of the Delane report.
I actually haven't watched it.
Oh, you gotta
It got
watch the.
posted around. I watched the first 30 seconds and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to get angry today.
It's uh, words elude me and how to describe the Delane report. But just know when you say it's a nice cap, I thought you were actually referencing it, not an actual like cap, like the end of something. I thought you were kind of slipping something in to remind everybody of this incredible piece of internet media that has been released. You need to do yourself a favor and go watch it.
I will. I will.
As soon as we're
Everything that I've heard leads me to believe that it's going to be similar to like a really low effort diss track made by like one of my high school students. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited to see it, I guess.
I'll
I'll
just
watch
tell
it
you
after we're
this:
done.
it starts off with him like tapping the mic and saying, "Is this thing on?"
Oh, I
And
saw that.
okay, yeah, well, then you
I
already
saw the
know.
Play VS transition. I saw that, and then that's when I clicked off. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
It's man. Apparently, the next one is going to drop this week, this
Like,
Thursday.
so
Apparently,
exciting. Very exciting.
so
Can't
now
wait.
what we have to look forward to each week, every time a new article drops, talking about play versus and all that drama, we can expect, I'm assuming, a new Delane report.
Mm.
Man, can't
Well,
wait.
this
Wake up,
is
babe.
really what
New
I've been
Delane
waiting.
report dropped.
Uh, this is what I've been waiting for my entire life. I don't think this is it. I think this is what I've been missing.
Oh man! All right. Well, other than you needing to catch up on all the internet media happenings, how's your week gone since last week?
Well, we got to wrap up my little final week before spring break. I finished my Great Gatsby unit, and of course, I planned it perfectly so that the final day before spring break was a movie day, um, which they tell me I'm not supposed to have as a good teacher, but you know, sometimes you need a movie day.
Amen.
And ever since then, I've just been playing video games. Like I got out of a jungle game literally right before I hopped in here, and it's been a blast.
So, all right. So you wrap up. Did you actually show the Great Gatsby?
Yeah, we do. So halfway through our unit, once we finish like chapters 1 through 5, um, I'm not going to spoil it. I know it's a classic, and most people have probably read it or at least heard of it. But once we get to the halfway point, I'll show the first half of the movie, and then once we finish it, I'll show the second half of the movie.
All right. So
The new
the
one.
big
We
I
don't need
was
the
going to
old.
say the big question is Robert Redford or Leonardo DiCaprio.
I so this is I think this is just another you know uh feather in the cap of me being a youngster compared to y'all. I've never seen the old Great
Whoa.
Gatsby.
Oh, compared to y'all,
Never seen.
what's happening?
Look, there's a reason I call you all boomers. My Coach Rivals community. You're all boomers to me.
Insulting. The Robert Redford version's good.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for sure. I remember teaching The Great Gatsby, and we always had a great discussion with the students over whether or not Daisy was justified in
Mm.
breaking her vows to Tom,
Oh,
and it was always just really good. It was a good moral discussion as far as like she has committed herself to her husband, but Tom's a jerk.
terrible person.
Yeah, Tom is an awful, terrible person. And so it really got the students riled up because they're like, well, he did it first. I'm like, okay, so then we get into the discussion of, well, do two wrongs make a right?
Yeah.
And then they start talking about it's just can there were other things she could have done or this that and the other before she took those steps to be with Jay, and I don't know.
Good old Jay.
It's an interesting conversation.
Well, my students for sure come out of the Great Gatsby very cynical. We talk about all kinds of fun, depressing things with The Great Gatsby. So we heavily cover the 1920s and the crash of the stock market and everything that leads up to it and comes afterwards. The Lost Generation and how World War I impacted all these people and their perceptions of their lives and the meaning of life. And I am a firm believer that every character in that novel is a terrible person. So it's just like when we finish it, they're all like, "Good. Oh, I think Nick is a terrible person too."
Oh, okay.
But you know what? This is fodder for a Coach Rivals literature podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, we could we do a Coach Rivals book study.
There we go.
Before we bore everybody and continue with our Gatsby discussion, I do want to say Chase is in the chat, and he does remind me that he can be at your place before the show ends for retribution over the Boomer comment.
Yeah, he better start driving. It's like a 55-minute drive.
We don't have a really long episode today. The goal is to get through this relatively quickly because plans changed. We were going to have Adrian Risley, COO of WeThink. He was going to be on today, but some other things came up. We're going to have him on next week. So be sure to tune in for that. All of our listeners, be sure to check out the Discord for the link so you can submit your questions to him. WeThink is a great tool to begin developing and building soft skills with your teams. And focusing on those aspects like teamwork, communication, personal responsibility, all that kind of stuff. It's a really, really cool platform. I'll let Adrian give us some more details next week. But I do want to remind everybody, too, that signups are now ready for Coach Rivals season. Is it 3? I believe it is season 3.
We're season 3. Last year was season 2.
Absolutely. So be sure if you are wanting to participate in the Coach Rivals League of Legends season this summer, that you check out that sign-up form. It is in the Discord. We have 3 tiers this year, tiers 1, 2, and 3. We have an unranked tier. I believe you have to be level 40. An account has to be level 40. In order for you to participate there. That is more of like the learning league like we had last year. Mm-hmm. And then we have a secondary tier, which is my understanding up until silver, I believe, is the maximum there. So you can be silver or below. And then the final tier, the upper tier, is gold and up.
Oof.
So are you competing this year?
I am going to be competing this year. I'll be balancing my duties. We're both involved in the numerous committees on Coach Rivals. So I'll be casting, maybe putting together some stream tools. What am I thinking of? Stream material. There we go. Streaming material.
Like production assets.
To use. Yeah, production assets. There we go. And then also competing.
Wow.
So we'll see if I drop out of gold in time.
What position are you going to look to play?
In the last month, I've played a ton of bot lane. I played a ton of top lane, and I played a lot of jungle. So I don't really know. I'm thinking of flipping, I don't know, like a 3-sided dice and going for it. We'll see.
All right. I look forward to it. I will not be competing. I'm just going to be casting and doing this thing.
You're not going to go to defend your title?
No. Last year was way too much. So I'm just gonna do the podcast this year. There was also a conflict of interest between the podcast and playing. And if anybody were to go back and look at last season's episodes, like I intentionally never made our matches like match of the week where we would like try to preview it.
Aww. But
then Ronnie would always ask me, like, so Team Tragedy, what do y'all think of here? I'm like, Ronnie, shut up. Like, no, I don't want to talk about it because then it just optics are really bad, right? So anyway, it's something that I tried to avoid and kind of walk on eggshells there. But this year, no, I'm all in on the podcast. We'll see, unless it turns out that there's 23 people. No, wait, how many people are on a League of Legends team?
5 people on a League of Legends
5 people, man. I'm thinking like Overwatch or something.
Quick maps.
If it ends up being 19 people signed up for the upper league and they just need one more person to form a 4th team, then we'll see. All right. No promises.
Well, for anybody interested, please make sure you sign up. I know we're looking to have 6 teams in each league, which means we need roughly 30 people. So if you're at all interested, even as a new coach, talk to some of the other coaches who played last year. It's a great way to get into a game that you may not have ever, may have been a little nervous about in the past. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole lot of fun, and we do the whole production side of it. We have the podcast that features the matches. We bring stats into it, and we really hype up the players. And it's not LCS quality, but it's pretty darn good. We'll say that. We'll keep it G-rated.
Pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good. All right. So this episode, I'm really excited for it. And the only reason why I thought of doing this episode with these pro player moments, or at least plays that are named after pro players and moments that they had, was it was one time in the podcast where I mentioned Messiah, and I don't. That was one you hadn't heard of, if I remember correctly. And I was like, you haven't heard of the Messiah? And that's where I had this idea. It's like, oh, that'd be cool to kind of refresh not even refresh, but some of our coaches that may be listening that haven't really paid attention to professional League of Legends ever. They've never watched it or never been interested, but they may have heard some of these terms thrown around. I wanted to share them, I guess, with everybody. So we'll go over first. I'm sorry, I'm boring you. I'm
just tired. So, when you haven't done anything all day and you're just exhausted.
Right. You're on spring break this week.
That's me. Look, that's me.
So we're going to go over some of the well-known pro plays and the names that have been given to them. And then Lucas is going to bring us up with some of the more dishonorable mentions, kind of the terrible plays. And we'll kind of take a walk down memory lane here.
I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
All right, so our first one, I'm going to try to bring the audio down for it so it's not crazy. But the first one, this is the Messiah, okay? Messiah. This was the one that I had mentioned in one of the podcasts, and Lucas had not heard of it. But this is done when you're playing Twisted Fate. You ulti into you ulti basically into every single member of the enemy team if they're clumped up together. But you have to have a stopwatch or a Zanya's Hourglass ready because, I'll just play it out and we'll let everybody see. But sorry, this is what old League of Legends used to look like, everybody, before the map got redone. It's pretty terrible. But you're gonna see Messiah here. He's gonna cast the Destiny and then take the gate into the mid lane. And as soon as he arrives, he goes golden into stasis. And this is when you're going to see multiple ultimates get used. So there was a Vladimir ultimate, an Ezreal ultimate. I think the Alistar may have done Pulverize, where he slams the ground and tries to knock everybody up. But the Messiah is ulting into the enemy team, going stasis as soon as you arrive, and try to bait out all of these like really crucial cooldowns that the enemy team may have. So I've done a form of this, but it's only to like 2 people. I think what made it so groundbreaking or so like crazy, one, because it was done in like a really old League of Legends, but 2, it's an entire flipping enemy team that he's ulting into.
No fear.
Yeah, and I don't think that it would work as well today because I think people would be expecting it, especially after League of Stopwatch a couple of seasons ago, where everybody had a stopwatch and every single play involved a stopwatch. Tower dives at level 6 or whatever. It was just full of that, but it's definitely is an iconic play, and that's one. So now you know. So what did you think about it?
Oh, I think it's one of the ballsiest things I've ever seen in League of Legends. I mean, just you mess up even a little bit, right? You're immediately stunned and you're blown up and you just look like a moron.
Yeah.
I think it's probably my favorite because of the room for error there, right? If you even just a half second late, or even if you lag a little bit, you just ulted into the other team and died for no reason.
And I think too that if he were to hit his stopwatch before Gate finished, would it? I wonder if it would lock him back where he was. Like if it would cancel his TP. Like if he were to be like knocked up or something in the middle of casting his ult. So I think it had to be that perfect timing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So that was a cool one. Next we have the Insec, which is very, very well known. Surely you know the Insec.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Who doesn't know an Insec?
This is the play that all aspiring Lee Sin players try to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting. Rubiel in chat probably not, because Rise could stopwatch and still use ult. I think they patched that out.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I don't think you're allowed to do that anymore because it was too free.
But he's right. You could. More than likely that could have still been in the game at the time. So either way, I think it's still impressive regardless. But yeah, that's a good point. So the Insec, we're gonna go ahead and play the Insec here. So that's it in full speed. So basically the Insec is with Lee Sin, you're going to... It was Zanya's, Mr. Hernandez teaches. He did have Zanya's, that's why I did the stasis. He's just trolling again.
He's just being rude.
But Lee Sin will Q1, Q2, and then after he has gotten close enough, he will... drop a ward, W ward hop to the ward to get behind a high value target, and then kick them back into the enemy team. So this clip here is about to show it in slow motion. And several things make this like really, really impressive. One, it was done, in this professional competitive match. But two, to my knowledge, this is the first instance of it. There's the Q, there's the ward hop over. But it wasn't flawless, because after he ward hops, he still has to walk towards the Varus to end up kicking him back into his enemy team. Now, when you see people pull off an Insec, it looks a lot more smooth. It doesn't look as kind of choppy as this one was, but it's so groundbreaking because it was the very first one.
Yeah, I feel like anytime we saw a really cool mechanical outplay or a really cool and unique use of a champion's kit, it really popped off, especially in the early years, just because there were so many things that hadn't been done yet. And now every Lee Sin in the world will try and do some variation of this. Now this one is particularly impressive because now the easy way to do it with Lee Sin is you Q1, Q2, and then you flash kick, right? That's like the easy one everybody does. But now it's, Insec was really impressive because he didn't have to waste the flash. He just ward hops over and gets that mechanical outplay off.
He was way ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. There's also you can kick flash, which is the timing is a little bit different. So if you flash kick, then they can still flash on the other side of you, and you end up kicking them away. So now people have found that you can kick, start the animation, flash to the opposite side, and it gives them less time to react to it. But I will say this, when Prowler's Claw came out, that also gave another way for people to Insec. They would Q1, Q2, Prowler's Crawl through, and then Prowler's Crawl behind them and then kick. So there have been a lot other ways to pull it off, but that was definitely the OG Insec.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right, so next we're going to move into, let's see which one I have queued up. Okay, this is Flame Horizon. It's named after Flame. So I just will go back. So the TF play was named after Messiah, pro player. Insec obviously was named after Insec. And this one is just named after Flame, who was a top laner. This particular game here is from when he played on Immortals. But one of the things that Flame had the habit of of doing was absolutely dumpstering his lane opponent in CS. And there were multiple instances of him being over 100 CS 100 CS over his opponent. In this particular example, he's at 293 to his lane opponent at 178 at the time of this clip. So basically, anytime you go 100 CS over your opponent, that is known as a Flame Horizon.
Flame Horizon.
Yep.
Yeah. And this one, we were talking about this before the show starts. This is one that's really popular. You'll probably hear it in your regular games too. Mostly because it doesn't require some insane mechanical outplay. So this, could potentially happen in your bronze, silver, gold, plat games. But yeah, it's just a really great, basically just an indicator that you absolutely smash your lane opponent.
Yeah, and you see it. Yeah, and like you said, you see it in all levels, and you'll see it in post game chat. Like, can't believe our top laner got Flame Horizoned, and it always goes back to the pro player Flame that made it a habit of doing it against pro players. So much different level for sure. All right, next up we have the Mad Life, which these are always impressive. Any time you are playing it's usually a hook champion. It's a support champion because Mad Life played support. But you're playing maybe Thresh, Nautilus, or Blitzcrank. Usually it's Thresh and Blitzcrank are the two that's most commonly associated with. It's the act of predicting a dash, flash, or a blink ability with your hook. So you can't. It's not the act of hooking after they've blinked. It's predicting that they will blink or will flash. You throw your hook in that direction, and it makes contact. So we're going to play this out so everybody can see it. So you'll see Mad Life come from the brush. He's already aiming in the upper right-hand corner. Ezreal Arcane shifts, and he hits the hook. And so that is one of the earliest ones that I can find. We did that, and he was just really known for that. So anybody says they pulled off a Mad Life, that is what they're referring to.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's this one you see all the time too. And even if you don't know what it is, you can normally tell when something similar happens when like the missing pings come out on your support that just landed one, and then some variation of like all caps responds like, "Oh my god, that was crazy! How did you do that? You're so good!" Blah blah blah. My favorite variation of this that popped out was not the let me see, not the predicting the flash or whatever you're using and catching them, but whenever Bunny Fufu popped into the scene in NALCS, he was really popular for catching like Jarvans out with his flay. So like they're trying to flag and drag over him, and he uses his flay and predicts it at the right time. And that one's more of a mechanical outplay than it is a prediction. But Thresh in general just has like a lot of really fun, flashy outplay potential.
Yeah, for sure. And if I guess we can go on a side tangent here, but Thresh is one of those champions that if you like to mechanically style on people and have those flashy plays, like Lucas said, Thresh is definitely the champion for it. I mean, his flay cancels so many abilities in the game, and it's such a short range that it's a very quick reaction. Thresh into Leona is really, really good because when she Zenith Blades in, you buffer your E, and it'll flay her off of you. So even though the Zenith Blade connects, before her model gets to you, you've already flayed her off, and she's not within close enough range to actually auto Q on you. So yeah, and then the hook predictions, the hook lantern, when your teammate's taking the lantern, you can flash to extend the distance beyond that. All sorts of really, really cool plays with Thresh. And then yeah, Bunny Fufu had some good ones, and there's some, I forget, is it Edward, I think, that calls himself, they call him the Thresh Prince?
Yes, the Thresh Prince.
All right, cool. So next we have, this is probably, of anything on the list, probably the most well-known. If you don't know what this play is, or you've never heard of an Expeke, don't feel bad. It's just, I think it would be odd for you not to know what an expect is. But we'll kind of set the stage here. We'll let this play out as I kind of talk over it. But this is SK, which, by the way, at the time on this team, a member of SK was Carlos or Ocelot, who is now the owner of G2. And playing against Fnatic, who is red side here. This is Xpeke on Kassadin. That's old, ugly skin Kassadin there. But he leaves. They fail to destroy the base. He goes into the upper left corner of the bot side jungle, TPs into the base to backdoor. And so it's him versus the Olaf. As a Kassadin, you see him just kind of rift walking back and forth on the other side of the Nexus. Gets hit by a couple axes, but poor Olaf, man.
Nothing he can do.
I think one of the coolest things about this too is you can see the delay on stage, because before Kassadin finishes hitting the Nexus all the way, you can already see in the player cams everybody freaking out.
Yeah.
And then when he goes over to SK, people are breaking headsets. You're going to see Ocelot. There's a lot of headsets being thrown. You'll see Ocelot with his scarf there. There's Ocelot. So many people attribute this game to why G2 hates Fnatic so much. So definitely a crazy, crazy moment in League of Legends history. And anytime somebody really kind of backdoors the Nexus like that, it's called an Xpeke, which is really, really cool.